Hello, and welcome back to English Podcast Journey. My name is Emma, and today I want to talk about something very close to my heart, something I struggled with for a long time: how to talk to anyone with confidence. I still remember a moment from my early university days. I was standing in a group of classmates, all of them chatting and laughing about a funny movie they had seen. I wanted to join in so badly. My mind was racing with thoughts like, what should I say? What if they think I'm weird? What if I interrupt at the wrong time? And so, I froze. I stayed quiet, nodding and smiling a little, but not really saying anything. Later, I walked away feeling left out and disappointed in myself. Have you ever felt like that? Maybe you wanted to talk to your colleagues at work during lunch. Or maybe you were at a party and everyone else seemed so natural at chatting, while you stayed on the side wishing you had the courage to join. If this sounds familiar, please know you are not alone. Many of us feel nervous about starting conversations, fear of judgment, fear of rejection, or simply not knowing what to say can hold us back. Here's the truth, though. Confidence in conversation is not a gift that only a few lucky people are born with. It is a skill. And like any skill, such as cooking, riding a bike, or learning English, it can be learned and practiced step by step. That is what we're going to do together in this episode. I will guide you through 5 clear steps that will help you feel more comfortable and confident when you talk to anyone. We will start with preparing your mindset and body, then move into practical ways to begin a conversation, keep it flowing, and end it politely when it's time. I'll also explain important English phrases along the way, so you'll grow not only in confidence, but also in your English vocabulary. By the end of this episode, you will have simple, practical tools to take with you into your next conversation. You won't just know what to do, you'll feel ready to try it. So, take a deep breath, relax, and let's begin this journey together. When we think about confidence, most of us imagine it as something we either have or don't have. Some people just seem naturally confident, right? They walk into a room, smile, and start chatting with everyone as if it's the easiest thing in the world. And then there are times when we look at ourselves and think, why can't I be like that? But here's the important thing to remember. Confidence is not about personality. It is about practice, and it begins with how we think and how we carry ourselves. The first step is in your mindset. Often when we enter a social situation, we are full of self-conscious thoughts. We think, what if I sound stupid? What if people don't like me? These thoughts create fear before we even open our mouths. What if we turned that around? Instead of focusing on what others might think of us, we can choose to focus on connection. A conversation is not a test. It's not about performing perfectly. It's simply 2 people sharing words and ideas. When you remind yourself of this, you start to feel lighter. One technique I use is this. Before I go into a group or meet someone new, I tell myself, I'm here to connect, not to impress. That one sentence shifts everything. It takes away the pressure of being interesting or perfect, and it helps me remember that the other person also wants connection. In fact, most people are relieved when someone else makes conversation because it makes them feel more comfortable too. Now, let's talk about the body, because how we use our body changes how we feel inside. Think of a time you stood with your shoulders hunched and your eyes down. How did you feel? Small? Maybe even invisible? Now imagine standing tall with your shoulders back and your chest open. That simple change in posture tells your brain, I am confident, I am ready. Science even shows that posture can affect mood. When you hold yourself tall, you naturally feel stronger. Another small but powerful tool is your smile. And I mean a real smile, not a forced one. When you genuinely smile at someone, three things happen. First, they feel welcomed. Second, you appear more approachable and friendly. And third, your own body releases signals that make you feel calmer. Smiling is like sending out an invitation without even speaking. So, before you think about what words to use, start with these foundations. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, I am here to connect. Stand tall. Relax your shoulders and let your natural smile come through. When you do this, you will already be halfway to confidence before the first word leaves your mouth. All right. Let's move into the next part, where we talk about actually starting and joining conversations. This is usually the scariest part for most people. You see a group chatting, or maybe you're standing next to someone new, and your brain goes blank. What do I say? How do I start? That fear can make us freeze. But here's the secret. Starting a conversation doesn't have to be big or clever. In fact, the simpler it is, the better. Conversations grow naturally when you just open the door. One of the easiest ways to do this is by making an observation. Think about the environment around you. Maybe you're at work and you can say, "This coffee machine is working overtime today," with a little smile. Or if you're outside, you could say, "The weather turned out better than I expected." These are simple, light comments about what you and the other person are both experiencing. They don't sound forced because they come from what's already in front of you. Observations are powerful because they invite the other person to agree, respond, and keep going. Another method is asking an open-ended question. Let me explain what that means. A closed question is one that can be answered with just yes or no. For example, do you like this? The problem with closed questions is they can stop the conversation quickly. An open-ended question, on the other hand, invites a longer answer. It often begins with words like how, what, or why. For example, what do you usually order here? Or how did you first get into this kind of work? These questions show genuine interest, and people love to talk about their own experiences. When you ask something open-ended, you are giving them space to share, and that creates a natural flow. The third way is offering a compliment. But here's the important detail. Make it sincere and specific. Instead of saying, "You look nice," you could say, "I really like your jacket. The color suits you." Or instead of just "good job," you might say, "I noticed how clear your presentation was. It made the topic easy to understand." A real compliment shows you are paying attention. It makes the other person feel seen, and it creates warmth right away. The key is sincerity. Never say something you don't mean. When you practice these three tools, making observations, asking open-ended questions, and giving specific compliments, you will find that starting conversations becomes much easier. And remember, people are usually happy when someone else takes the first step. They don't want awkward silence either. So when you gently open the door, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping them too. The truth is, you don't need to think of perfect words. You just need to be willing to take that first small step. Once the first words are out, the rest often flows naturally.
Great. Let's continue by looking at how to keep a conversation flowing once it has started. One of the most common worries people have is, what if I run out of things to say? That thought alone can make you nervous. But here's something comforting. Conversations don't need to be filled with clever words. What really keeps them alive is listening, really listening, and responding to what the other person is sharing. Think of it like playing catch. You don't need 100 balls ready. You just need to catch what's thrown to you and toss it back in a simple way. Let's say someone tells you, I tried a new restaurant last weekend. Instead of replying with just, that's nice, you can ask a follow-up question. Oh, really? What kind of food do they serve? This shows interest and invites them to tell you more. Follow-up questions are powerful because they build on the other person's words, not on random topics from your head. It makes them feel heard and keeps the energy moving naturally. Another important tool is active listening. Active listening means giving your full attention, looking at the person, nodding gently, and showing you're present. When people feel that you're really paying attention, they feel valued. And when they feel valued, they want to continue talking. Small phrases can help here. Simple responses like, I see what you mean, or, oh, I get it now. Keep the flow going without you needing to think of big, new topics all the time. These little signals are like fuel for the conversation. They show you're engaged. Also, don't be afraid of short pauses. Many learners think silence is a failure, but actually, a little pause can be natural and even comfortable. It gives both of you a chance to breathe. If the pause feels a bit too long, you can gently pick up the thread by asking, so what happened after that? Or, how did you feel about it? Questions about feelings or details usually spark deeper sharing. Here's another tip. Share small pieces of your own experience, but connect it to what the other person just said. For example, if they talk about traveling, you might say, that reminds me of the time I got lost in a new city. It was funny afterwards. This way, you are adding something personal without stealing the spotlight. A balance of listening and sharing creates the best flow. Conversations aren't about performing. They're about connection. If you stay curious, show interest, and use these little tools, you'll notice that the pressure fades. Instead of thinking, what should I say next? You'll simply be present, enjoying the moment. And that's what makes talking with confidence feel natural. Now, let's go even further into what it really means to keep a conversation flowing naturally. You see, many of us believe we need to be interesting to hold a good conversation, but the truth is, we need to be interested. That one mindset shift changes everything. When you truly want to know what the other person thinks or feels, you don't have to force questions. They just come. Curiosity makes your speech sound natural and warm, not rehearsed or robotic. Imagine this. You're talking to someone about weekend plans. They say, I'm going hiking with some friends. Instead of stopping there, your curiosity could lead to a simple follow-up like, oh, that sounds refreshing. Do you go hiking often? Or, which trail are you planning to go to? Each of these questions invites more details, and details are where real conversations live. The more you show genuine interest, the easier it becomes for both of you to relax. Listening, as simple as it sounds, is also a skill you can train every day. Try practicing it even when you're not talking. When you're watching an English video or even a movie, pay attention not only to the words, but also to how people respond to each other. Notice the tone, the short pauses, the soft laughter. That's what real human communication looks like. When you start observing these patterns, you'll naturally copy them in your own conversations without even realizing it. And here's something else I want you to remember. Sometimes the reason conversations feel hard isn't because of your English level. It's because you're too focused on yourself. You keep thinking, do I sound okay? Or what if I make a mistake? But the people you talk to aren't there to judge your grammar. They just want a connection. So when you shift your attention from how you sound to how the other person feels, everything changes. You become calmer, more natural, and even more confident. Let's talk about emotional presence for a second. When you're speaking with someone, be there mentally, not half in your head thinking about the next sentence. Feel their energy. Notice their expressions and respond like you're part of the moment. For example, if someone talks about a stressful day, don't rush to fix it or give advice. Just say, "That sounds tough. I can imagine how you felt." That kind of empathy creates warmth. People remember how you made them feel far more than the exact words you used. Another powerful technique to keep conversations smooth is something called mirroring. Mirroring simply means gently matching the other person's energy, tone, or pace. If they speak softly, don't rush your speech. If they're laughing and cheerful, you can reflect that vibe. It's not about copying them. It's about harmonizing your energy so the interaction feels natural. Humans subconsciously connect better when they sense that shared rhythm. Let's look at another example. You meet someone at a coffee shop. They mention, "I've been trying to cut down on caffeine lately." A simple but engaging response could be, "Oh, really? How's that going for you?" That small question shows attention and invites them to share their story. If they continue, you can respond with something like, "I tried that once, but I miss my morning coffee too much." This type of exchange feels honest, not forced. You're both contributing equally, like dancing, not competing. You can also use bridging phrases when a conversation slows down. Bridging phrases help you move from one topic to another without sounding abrupt. For example, if the conversation about coffee ends, you could say, "Speaking of habits, have you picked up any new ones lately?" Or, "That reminds me, I've been trying to get more sleep these days." These short transitions keep the flow alive and give both of you something new to explore. One more important skill is learning how to respond with warmth, not just words. Sometimes a simple, "Oh, that's amazing," or "Wow, I didn't know that," carries more emotional weight than a long sentence. It shows that you're genuinely reacting, not just replying. You can practice this by recording yourself and listening to your tone. Are you sounding flat, or are you expressing emotion? Remember, communication isn't only verbal, it's emotional energy shared through words. And please never underestimate the power of silence. I know silence can feel uncomfortable, especially for language learners. But short silences are completely natural. They give space for thought. When you allow those little pauses, you actually sound more confident. Because confident people don't rush. They let the moment breathe. You can even use a soft smile during silence. It shows comfort, not awkwardness.
Let's say you're talking to a new friend and there's a short pause. Instead of panicking, just take a breath and think of something connected. You might say, "That's interesting. It reminds me of something similar that happened to me." Then continue the flow. The goal isn't to speak nonstop, but to make the time you speak meaningful and connected. At this point, I want you to think about your daily life, your classmates, coworkers, or neighbors. Every single person you meet is a chance to practice these small tools. Ask one more question than usual. Give one real compliment. Share one small story. Every time you do, your confidence grows a little. You're not only learning English, you're learning how to connect as a human being. So, if you ever feel like conversations are hard, remember, it's not because you don't know enough words. It's because you're still learning how to relax into connection. And that's okay. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Conversations aren't tests, they're bridges. You don't need to be perfect to cross them. You just need to take a step. Now, let's talk about something that most people forget when learning how to talk to anyone: what not to do. You see, sometimes confidence doesn't come from doing more, it comes from doing less of what holds you back. One common mistake people make is talking too much out of nervousness. I've done this myself. When I felt anxious, I would fill every silence with words, thinking it made me sound confident. But in reality, it only made me sound rushed and disconnected. True confidence is found in calmness, not speed. If you notice that you're talking more than listening, take a gentle pause. You can say something like, "But that's just me. What do you think?" Or, "I'd love to hear your view on that." These simple phrases invite the other person back into the conversation. Remember, good conversations are like playing catch. You throw the ball, then wait for it to come back. When both people take turns, naturally, it creates flow and trust. Another thing to avoid is constantly worrying about how you sound. The truth is, nobody is grading your grammar in real life. People connect with your energy, not your perfection. Think of the people you enjoy talking to. It's usually not because they speak perfectly, but because they make you feel heard and comfortable. So when you catch yourself thinking, "Did I say that right?" just breathe and remind yourself, "It's okay. I'm learning and I'm connecting." That one thought can quiet the inner critic. Eye contact is another gentle but powerful signal. It doesn't mean staring, it means staying present. Even short glances show interest. Combine that with a relaxed smile and open posture, and you immediately appear approachable. The body speaks before words do. When you enter a conversation with that open energy, people sense it. You don't even have to say much. Your presence already communicates confidence. Now, let's talk about how to end a conversation smoothly, because this part matters just as much as starting one. Ending a chat doesn't have to feel awkward or rushed. A good ending keeps the connection open for the future. You can say something like, "It was really nice talking to you. I enjoyed hearing your thoughts." Or, "I have to get going now, but let's talk again soon." Short, sincere endings show respect and confidence. It tells the other person that you value the time shared. And before we close today, I want to remind you of something important. Confidence in communication isn't about pretending to be someone else. It's about becoming more comfortable being yourself. Every time you start a conversation, even a small one, you're teaching your brain that connection is safe. Over time, that feeling of safety becomes your new normal.
If you want to practice starting conversations this week, set one small goal. Talk to one new person every day. It could be a classmate, a coworker, or even the barista at your favorite coffee shop. Smile, make eye contact, and say something simple like, "How's your day going?" That's it. The magic happens not in the words, but in the courage to try. Confidence is not a personality trait. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. So be patient with yourself. You don't need to master every conversation. You just need to keep showing up. If today's episode helped you feel even a little more ready to connect, I'd love for you to take a moment to like this video. It really supports this channel and helps more learners like you find it. And if you want to keep improving your English and confidence in calm, simple ways, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for spending your time here with me today. Remember, your voice matters, your thoughts are valuable, and connection begins the moment you let yourself be real. You already have what it takes. You just have to begin speaking.